Hi, shipmates. Today, we're going to be going over Chapter 5 of Food Intelligence, Ode to Fat. And fat is where it's at. There's a lot to learn about fat in this chapter.
Too much.
Yeah, quite a bit. But I can tell you, my favorite part of the chapter was at the very beginning. The authors do a great job with storytelling in the beginning, and I learned quite a bit. There was, in the 1950s, a Jewish doctor who had escaped the Holocaust and was living in the United States, and he was a surgeon that would do facelifts and nose jobs. He was a plastic surgeon making people look beautiful back in the 1950s. And he moved back to Italy. And when he was in Italy back in the 1950s, the Pope said that the church said
monitored all hospitals. I think they probably opened them. I mean, they probably ran them too.
Yeah. And they were kind of like, you know, if God made you the way that you are, you just deal with that. And they were not, it was like a sin to get a nose job and a facelift.
Vanity.
Yeah, because it was considered vanity. And so this Jewish doctor met with the Pope.
Because otherwise he was out of business.
Right.
In Italy anyway.
Yeah. And he shared with him that, hey, there's a lot of people who could really benefit, who've had disfiguring things happen to them, and how it really would improve their spirit to be able to lift them up with all the things that he can do with plastic surgery. And what did the Pope say, Jeff?
The Pope said, hold on.
He's gonna give you exactly what the Pope said.
If the end is good, cosmetic surgery is commendable.
Yeah.
And he also mentioned about you can also be socially isolated and, you know, kind of shunned if because of those things that are disfiguring or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they changed their mind.
Yeah. And then
that was Pope Pius XII.
There you go.
1958, October.
There you go. And so anyway, I thought that was kind of an interesting way to start this chapter. And that Jewish doctor discovered, hey, a lot of his patients, what bothered them the most was being overweight and having so much excess fat. And so he tried to think, well, how could he help them? But the surgery at that time to get rid of fat
was horrible.
Oh, it was horrible. And
left big scars.
Oh yeah, so it was horrible. It was painful. It could leave you scars. It wasn't. There was no good solution for getting rid of fat. And then he went to the United States and he was visiting California, and he saw some oil being drilled. And he saw how the oil was being drilled into the ground, and then the oil kind of spouting out, and it gave him.
Whatever.
But it gave him a great idea. And he was like, hey, what if I could create something where I could create a surgery where I could drill inside somebody's fat and suck it out, kind of like you would drill for oil and just suck the fat out by only placing like a little incision and placing like a long needle with a hole in it and a little vacuum in it, and I could vacuum the fat out. And he figured out how to do it, and he is the father of liposuction. And so that started a long time ago.
Now, I don't know when exactly in relation to that they were looking at liposuction as, well, is it a health benefit? Does it actually reverse some of the things that having excess fat causes, you know, heart disease and those kinds of things?
Now, do know for a second, though, liposuction took off big time. After he got it started, there was like over 100,000 people in the United States got liposuction, and now you can get liposuction all around the world. I have a fat condition called lipedema, which they didn't mention in this chapter. But lipedema is a type of fat that has painful, hard nodules. And so I have these painful, hard nodules in my legs, and I also have them in my upper arms because I have lipedema in both my arms and my legs. And there are women who have become anorexic trying to get rid of their lipedema, and they can lose all kinds of fat. Their regular fat by starving themselves will come off, but lipedema fat does not disappear. So you
There are
can,
different kinds of fat.
there are different kinds of fat, but lipedema fat, you can starve yourself to death and you will still die with your ribs showing, and you'll still have those fatty nodules because it doesn't melt away even if you starve yourself. And I have seen pictures of anorexic women who are trying so hard to get rid of the lumpy, bumpy fat on their legs. And their legs are all smaller because they don't have very much muscles left anymore because they're extreme anorexia, but they still have that lumpy, bumpy fat hanging on to their bones. And the only way to get rid of lipedema fat is through liposuction. Is the only way that you can get rid of it. And it can still come back. It can still come back later. And so there are women who will have liposuction, and then they'll look so much better for a while, but then years later they have to have the liposuction again because it can grow. It can even grow back. So I found that really interesting, him talking about the founder of the person who created liposuction for being able to get rid of fat.
Would you say that was the easiest part of the chapter to read?
It was, because it was full of story. And so that is my advice too, when we have the author is going to be our guest. There's two authors, Julia, I'm not sure how to say her last name. Belluz and Kevin Hall. Kevin Hall, that's really easy to say. And Dr. Kevin Hall, who has his PhD in physics. And my advice for them when they write their second book is to be sure to include as many stories as possible, as well as all that important scientific information that they're really great at giving the good information that is very high level, mixed in with story. But the story really makes it so that any everyday person can read the book and really connect.
You know, the scientific details are important, though.
Absolutely.
But what I was going to say is that after they invented liposuction,
right,
one of the questions was, because at that point, I think it was just considered, well, all fat is bad. Getting rid of it is all good. And they kind of figured out that's not exactly the case, because when they did the liposuction and tried to determine, well, does that have the same effect as doing diet and exercise and losing fat that way? And there weren't any differences in the health benefits between having no liposuction and having liposuction. It made you look better,
right?
And it got more fat off of your body.
But it did not lower your, because they thought, well, maybe, with all fat being bad, if we take off a whole bunch of fat off of you, then your health is going to be so much better. But if it's done through liposuction versus diet, healthier diet and exercise, they're missing something really important.
Well, because there's different kinds of fat, and the different fats are doing different things. Like, I was amazed by a couple of things. Should I tell you the things I was amazed by? I mean, it was, I found it very dense to read.
Yes.
But what that did for me and made me amazed was, oh my gosh, fat does so many things. And evolutionarily, we developed the ability to store fat so that you could be like that one guy who went almost a year, or was it longer than a year?
No, there was a guy who was 400 and some pounds. He went, but he was medically watched.
Yes.
He was medically supervised by a doctor. He was medically watched. he went an entire year without eating any food. He
Oh my
drank.
gosh.
He drank.
Well, it
And
just goes to show you that we were evolved to be able to store fat, to be able to use as reserves for the times when there are famines and when there's maybe there's no animals out there to hunt or whatever the case might be, drought, that it has helped us survive as a species. And that is just amazing. Oh, and then was it the brown fat, I think, helps you be able to warm yourself up.
Yeah, to stay warm.
No, not just the insulation, but to be burned to warm you up. And there's fat also that acts as insulation. And right now I'm testing out some of my fat right this very minute and sitting on this chair. I have to have this big cushion right here, but I also have this cushion right here.
On his tush.
And not only does it help you be more comfortable that way, but it also inside of your body, around your organs, visceral fat, is the bad kind. And yeah, too much visceral fat is bad. But you know what? A little bit of it
is
kind of cushion. It's like when you get something from Amazon and it has the bubble wrap all around it,
to keep your stuff from breaking.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the first time we heard that was last week with Health at Any Cost. Barb shared last week. She's gone from 400 pounds down to 125 pounds. And but while she lost all this fat that she didn't want, and she got better cholesterol, a lot of her kidneys are doing better. Her liver, blood pressure's better. So many things about her is healthier because she got rid of all that fat. However, she has almost no visceral fat. And so her doctors wanted her to put a little bit of weight on so she could have a little bit of visceral fat, because it helps protect your organs too, to give them a little cushion. So you need a little bit of visceral fat. A little bit of visceral fat is wonderful for you. It's healthy and you need it. Too much visceral fat is the opposite and can cause issues. And when people did the liposuction and they had fat removed, it wasn't their visceral fat that was being removed. It was their subcutaneous fat, the fat that's closer to the skin. It was the fat that's removed. And so if you still have too much visceral fat, liposuction isn't going to get rid of that. Liposuction isn't going to lower your cholesterol. Liposuction isn't going to give you a lower blood pressure.
But
those things happen with exercise and eating better.
It might also, though, make it more comfortable for your knees and other joints that have to carry around the more fat.
That's true. So it still probably helps with that.
It was amazing to me how many different pluses and minuses and pros and cons of all the different ways that we can store fat for energy to help keep us alive and survive even through hard times. And we can, it related back to the other chapter about the flex fuel. Like,
yes.
Then when you burn this, then you're out of that. You can burn some of this, and then there's ketones, and then there's
triglycerides,
glucose and glucagon or whatever. Anyway, it was very interesting. I can't recite it all back to you, but I found it really interesting.
Yeah. What was interesting to me too was about triglycerides. That I've always heard, you don't want to have high triglycerides are terrible, and your doctor, when you go for your wellness check, they do a blood test every year. They test a lot of things. And one of the things is triglycerides, and you don't want them too high. But a little bit of triglycerides you need. A little bit of triglycerides are helpful. Triglycerides are actually helpful. So I found that really interesting too. And also back again, when they were doing the testing of people who had done liposuction and if it helped them to have better health, they said it was really hard to find subjects to make it a true scientific test, because a lot of people who've had liposuction once they get some of that fat off their legs, they can exercise easier.
They get religious about
exercise, and then they want to eat better because they don't want that fat to come back, and so they start doing the healthy things, and sure enough, that does improve their health.
So not all the answers are in, is what you're saying. It's just,
but if you were having liposuction, if you have liposuction, and you're still eating a bunch of cheeseburgers and French fries, and you're sitting on your butt all day long and not adding any exercise or anything, it's not going to make your heart rate better. It's not going to make your cholesterol go down. But if you get some of that weight off of your legs, it's going to be easier to exercise. And all the money you have to spend to get liposuction might be a special moment for you to know, oh, maybe I don't want that cheeseburger. Maybe I'll have some chicken instead, or and eat some more fruits and vegetables. So anyway, I found that all to be really interesting.
What do you think about when they talk about BMI and how that's used, and how it's not really
and how BMI started
a good tool to use for
right?
But then we're trying to figure out, okay, we're an insurance company and we want to make sure that we only insure healthy people and we don't have to pay out too much. I know BMI is easy to calculate, easy to use as a tool, but maybe not the most accurate.
Right. And I mentioned that on one of my Manjaro Monday lives after I had my DEXA scan done, and I got to finally meet with a registered dietitian, which I haven't done for a long time. They had mentioned the registered dietitian, and I spoke, and I said, for my height, it used to be, going to Weight Watchers and stuff, that at being 5'2.5", that they wanted me between 110 and 125. And I used to try to shoot for that 110 when I was in high school. But I have a lot of muscle. I always have. I have a big round tush. Even at 110 pounds, I have a round tush. I have big calves. And I have big thighs without even before I had lipedema fat. When I was in high school and I would exercise all day long, and in the summer I'd ride my bike all through town. And the first 3 weeks or so of summer, I didn't hardly eat anything because I was trying to get down to my 110 pound bikini body. And I had to starve myself pretty much. I could have 3 or 4 bites of cottage cheese, and I'd drink Tab, and I would ride my bike all day long.
I think you should just get taller.
I should just get taller. Yeah, if I could just grow taller. Yeah, would help my BMI. But so 110 pounds is not realistic for me as a BMI. It's not. I don't want to ever be 110 pounds again. If I am, that means that I'm starving myself, or I'm extremely ill to be that small again. Because I have too much natural muscle that it's just, I don't know. It's not worth starving myself to be that. So I'm shooting for a more health. Actually, I'm hoping to be 150. If I can be 154 pounds again, I think that's actually my stretch goal weight that I'm shooting for, because that's something that I can keep off, I believe. And some of that will be the lipedema fat that I can't get rid of any way, that I need to just be able to live with, and then have plenty of muscle on there too. But yeah, so BMI, there are male athletes that if you look at their BMI, it looks like, oh, they're obese, and they're not obese. It's because they have so much muscle, and it's not taking into account the muscle weight versus the fat weight. It's just kind of a generalized thing. And so it was really nice that they included that in this chapter about fat.
Yeah.
So I agree. What else did you get from that chapter that you thought was important, Jeff?
Checking my notes here.
Okay, so I'm thinking, what else was good? Just that it also really made me think when he talked about the person that was over 400 pounds, and for an entire year.
386 days, I think it says.
Yeah, for a little over a year, that man did not eat a thing other than drinking. But my guess, if he was under medical advice, they had to have given him some electrolytes, because you've got to have some electrolytes too. And so that was something
What would you do for fiber to make sure everything moves along?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. They didn't talk about how much he pooped
Wow.
if he's not eating anything for a year. But he went from 400 and something to 180 pounds.
Did you like how they said at the end, when he had his first meal, he was so excited to remember because he had forgotten what food tasted like. And he had a boiled egg. Yum, yum, yum.
Well, hey, if he hadn't eaten anything,
Right.
and
you
a
know
slice of toast.
Right.
And it was a boiled egg, a slice of toast, I don't know, like a cup of coffee or something to have with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe that would be the thing, to forget what food tastes like. And then when you start up again, just try some things that are, not bad for you.
Yeah. And they also talked about a magician who, one of those famous magicians who sat in a
box, a
clear box
on a pole.
Yeah. And he starved himself for like 40 some days or something, and lost 50 pounds. And I'm curious, they didn't say, how did he get enough to drink while he was in that box? And where is he peeing and stuff when he's in a clear box?
I'm sure they had to have a way to get air in and water.
Yeah, so I don't know. It would have been kind of interesting to know a little bit more about what was happening in that magic clear box. So it would have been nice to have a few more details on that, other than he didn't eat for 40 some days and lost 50 pounds.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Do you remember the story about Rihal and her metabolic disorder, where she can't make enough fat? She can't store fat.
Mm-hmm. I used to babysit for somebody, and the lady that I babysat for, she had a lot of protein powders, and she was super, super, super skinny. And she told me she couldn't gain weight, and she tried so hard to gain weight, and she would have to try to eat those protein powders and stuff to try to put weight on. And she was crazy, crazy thin. But she wasn't anorexic or bulimic. She wanted to put weight on. She just couldn't.
She had lipodystrophy.
Yes, yes.
And she had multiple strokes and a major heart attack. Mm-hmm. And she has all these different drugs to help manage her condition. I mean, it just goes to show you, I think, how important it is to have some fat.
Right.
It's not a mistake that our bodies are able to store fat. Just maybe, I think the next chapter. What was the next chapter going to be? They gave us a little
preview or a little
cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah. All of us, thin or fat, overestimate how much control we have over our eating behavior. Boy, I can tell you that. But maybe now that you're on Manjaro.
Yeah, I am taking it. Yes. And for those of you that are new, if this is your first time showing up to Anchor Moments, my name is Gina. I have type 2 diabetes, and I've been on a Manjaro journey. I think tomorrow's going to be my 98th shot. I go live on Mondays. I call them Manjaro Monday Lives. And this is my husband, Jeff, who does not have type 2 diabetes. And he's on a healthy lifestyle journey without taking a GLP-1 because he doesn't have diabetes. So we wouldn't be able to afford the medication for him anyway. And he's doing okay, doing some healthy lifestyle things with me. Okay, where was I going to go with that?
I don't know.
So was there something else from the chapter you wanted to share?
I think those were all the things. We still use how people look to gauge their health and their worth all the time. There was another thing I highlighted because it's so right. I mean, it's not
right, but
it's so right. That's what happens.
That's what happens.
Yeah. I think it was related to the BMI thing,
Yeah.
And some people who are getting health care are treated less kindly if they are overweight.
But I will tell you, I loved the doctor that Jeff and I had for 35 years. And I didn't know that he was going to retire. But my last visit with him, he was really proud of me that my A1C was finally normal, and that I'd been losing weight, and my all my things looked really good on my blood work. And he was really happy for me. And I looked at him and I asked him, and I said, you've been my doctor for 35 years. You have seen me gain and lose weight, and then gain more weight, then more weight, and then lose some weight, and then gain more weight, more weight, more weight. But you always look the same. Every time I come in here, you're always thin and trim, and you have been thin and trim for 35 years. How do you do it? What is your secret to success? And he smiled and he said, "Oh, Gina, it was good genes." He said, "It's all my genes." He said, "When I was in high school, I was so skinny, and I tried and tried and tried to put on weight, and I just couldn't put on any weight. And I do like running. I enjoy running, but now my knees aren't good and I can't run anymore. So I ride a bike instead. But it's really nothing that in general, that I do. I mean, he likes to exercise, but even in general, even if he didn't exercise, he just doesn't put on weight. He has that's his biology." And that really helped me to understand why he was always kind to me. He never made me feel bad about being overweight. I mean, he'd let me know, "Oh, your cholesterol's starting to get up. You might want to do better with diet and exercise." And he was the one who diagnosed me with type 2 diabetes. And he quickly sent me right away that he knew there was a great program at the hospital with 2 registered dietitians. It was 6-week long for people with type 2 diabetes. And he signed me up for that. And he knew my health insurance would pay for it and it'd be a free benefit. But he never made me feel guilty or ashamed about my weight. And I loved him. He was a wonderful, wonderful doctor. So it was a bummer to have him retire. I'm glad we got a good doctor now, though. So
Yes,
we do
we
have
do.
another good doctor.
We have a great doctor.
One other thing that this chapter made me think about, tomorrow, I am going to have a registered dietitian, one of the ones that my new ones that I'm seeing now, which I found out, which all of you should check. You may have a free benefit that you don't even realize on your health insurance to be able to see a registered dietitian for free. It's considered preventative medicine. And I did not know, other than taking that 6-week course, diabetes course, that I had that available on my health insurance. And I checked, and sure enough, I do. And one of there's 2 different dietitians I see at the same group called Southwest Dietitians Group. And the owner of that group, who's a registered dietitian who lost a ton of weight years ago and has kept it off, Maya, is going to be my guest tomorrow. And Maya asked me, we were emailing each other, and she was sending me some pictures and stuff to use in the slideshow for tomorrow. And she asked me about how I got started with my Anchor Moments journey. She was curious, how did I start my Anchor Moments YouTube channel? What's some of my backstory? And she bought my Anchor Moments book, but it hasn't, but she said, "Gosh darn it, it hasn't come in yet." And so, and she knew that she'd probably learn a lot about me through, here, I've got it right here, through my Anchor Moments book. And so I shared with her how my Anchor Moments journey got started. And there's a video of me giving a talk at an interfaith prayer breakfast at the YMCA exactly 10 years ago. And I watched it, and it relates to this chapter. And I also sent her the link. But I had a friend who helped me get a Holocaust survivor to give the prayer for world peace at the end of our interfaith prayer breakfast. And I was so excited to have this Holocaust survivor give us a prayer for world peace. And a week before the prayer breakfast, after we advertised, on all the flyers and stuff, that he was going to be one of my 2 keynotes, his daughter broke her hip, and he was going to have to fly to where she was and help take care of her. And so he couldn't go. And I was like, oh no, what are we going to do? Because, you just can't find a Holocaust survivor just anywhere. They're getting really, even 10 years ago, they were getting really old. And there are fewer and fewer of them who can come someplace and speak. And one lady who was helping us with the Holocaust survivor that we did have, who we lost because he had to help out his daughter, her parents were Holocaust survivors, and they used to speak about the Holocaust, but they had recently passed away. And she said she's never spoken to Fred, because there was over 300 people in the audience, and she's never spoken to big groups. Number one, she wasn't a professional speaker or anything. And number two, she'd never shared her parents' story before. But she couldn't help, and she was trying to help us find another survivor, and she couldn't. So, so she got to speak, and she was willing to do the prayer for world peace for us and speak for 10 minutes about her parents' experience. And we had someone do a video first and talk to her a couple of days before the prayer breakfast. And she told the story of her parents, and they started making edits to make it, a small little intro kind of thing. And when it was her turn to speak, and she's at the end, and I remember she sat next to me and she kept telling me, Gina, I'm so scared. I've never spoken about my parents' journey before. And I haven't seen the video that J2 Media created for me. I haven't seen it yet. And I don't know what pieces they're going to show or what it looks like. And I'm scared because I've not, spoken in front of big groups before. I'm just so nervous. And I told her, oh, you're going to be just fine. You're going to do great. You're going to do great. And then it was finally her turn. And they showed the video while she was sitting next to me. And it was just painfully sad. And when it was over, she looked at me and she had tears in her eyes, and she went up to the microphone, and she couldn't do her speech. And she told everyone she's so sorry. It was her first time seeing that video, and it just really affected her. But she said, but she was glad she had written down the prayer for world peace, and she said it first in Yiddish, Hebrew. And then when she finished saying it in Hebrew, she said it in English. She was done in like 2 minutes, and she was off the stage. And the microphone was just right there. Nobody was coming up to the stage. And everyone, and the theme of that prayer breakfast was spread joy. And everybody in the room started crying. And then I realized at that moment, I had prayed a week beforehand, and I told God that I would follow him and do his will for my life as long as he made the signs big. And I said, you can't make them little. You're probably talking to me all the time and I don't hear you because I'm missing these signs. You didn't make me smart enough to be able to read these signs. But I promise you, God, from now on, because I know I have free will and I could choose, to go your direction or not. But if you make the signs big so I can't miss them, I promise I'll choose your will over mine, and I'll do whatever you want, because I knew I needed a new career. And so anyway, when that microphone was empty, that stage was empty, and there was that microphone, and everybody in the audience is crying, and I chaired this prayer breakfast called Spread Joy, I realized that God gave me the story to tell. And I went up to that microphone and I told them,
wait a minute. Are you going to tell them the story? Because maybe they should get their book and see it.
Well, I also wrote about it in my one of the chapters in my book. Oh. But it was about my friend, Gerda Wiseman Klein. And Gerda was a Holocaust survivor. And she spoke to many groups all over the United States. She even won an Academy Award when they made a movie about her life, her experience. And God gave me a dream before we planned the prayer breakfast. The day after, Jeff said we should call the prayer breakfast Spread Joy. And I thought, well, that's a really neat theme, but we can't have it be that theme this year because it's my dream to have a Holocaust survivor give us the prayer for world peace. And the Holocaust was not joyful. So that would be inappropriate. And then the very next night, God gave me a dream where I remembered part of Gerda Weissman Klein's speech. And the story she told, I told to everybody in the audience. And I told them that Jeff came up with Spread Joy as the theme, and that I said, oh, we couldn't have it and why, but maybe next year. And then the following morning, I woke up after having this dream of remembering Gerda's talk. And Gerda shared that while she was on a death march, she was walking next to her best friend, and they were starving. They were so skinny. They were starving. And her friend saw a raspberry on the trail. And the guards weren't looking, and she grabbed that raspberry and she put it in her pocket. And all day long, that raspberry bounced around in her pocket. And then that night, when the guards weren't looking, Gerda's friend took that raspberry out of her pocket and put it on a little leaf and presented it to Gerda. And she said, Gerda, I know you are the lucky one. I know that you will survive. And I want to gift you this raspberry. And Gerda said, when she took that raspberry and placed it in her mouth, it brought so much joy because she could feel the love of her friend giving her only possession, which was one raspberry, and gifted it to her. And she said it made her tongue just tingle, and she could just feel joy from the tip of her head to the bottom of her toes eating this raspberry. And then a few days later, her friend died while they were on that death march. But Gerda says she'll never, ever forget the love and sacrifice her friend did to give her that raspberry. And I shared with the prayer breakfast, the reason the theme was Spread Joy is we all have a choice every day. Every day we have a choice. We can choose to spread joy, even if we're surrounded by death, even if we're surrounded by evil and horrible things. We can choose with our actions to spread joy. And then I told everyone, and that's why the theme was Spread Joy. And then we ended the prayer breakfast. And there was someone in the audience, Christine Ellis, who I'd never met before. And when I got off the stage, everyone started clapping. And she just jumped out of nowhere, gave me this big bear hug, almost squeezed the bejesus out of me, just like, "Rah!" And she said, this is the best prayer breakfast I've ever been to. I want to join your planning committee. And she handed me a card that had her name on it so she could be part of my committee. And it said, Christine Ellis, Holy Spirit Broadcasting Network. And later, Jeff's boss, the superintendent, he was assistant superintendent then, and now he's the superintendent of Chandler School District, Frank Narducci, told Jeff, you got to tell your wife she needs to be a professional storyteller. And when Jeff told me that, it made my heart smile. And one of my friends who was the MC of the prayer breakfast, she was a professional speaker, speaks all over the world, and Coach Darlene Santor. And so I called up Coach Dar and I said, what should I do? How do I become a professional speaker? And what's the first thing that you do? And she said, Gina, you got to write your stories down. Write them down. And once you get some of them down, you can email them to me if you'd like. And I said, oh, thanks, Coach Dar. And so I told Jeff he had to create a website for me so I could have a place that I could blog. And so anyway, that started my Anchor Moments journey. And there's more in the book. I also asked God to help me be a more forgiving person. And it was the wildest month and a half of my life. The signs were gigantuan everywhere. They were so huge. There's no missing it of what I was supposed to do. And in 6 weeks' time, I learned how to forgive myself. I learned how to forgive others, and I learned how to ask for forgiveness with a 6-step apology. And all of that is what my Anchor Moments book is about. And so anyway, I just wanted to put that little bit out there too. And regarding fat, we're not all lucky. Gerda's friend, Gerda was lucky. You know, that day, the only thing she ate was that raspberry, and she walked all day long. And she got to eat one raspberry, and that was it. And her friend didn't make it. Our fat is sometimes we want to curse our fat, especially when we have so much of it. I know I certainly have. But there are reasons that you do need some of that fat. And there are people that have been able to live in famine situations and in evil situations because of how their body was able to break down muscle and break down fat to be able to survive for a while.
And there are other animals, like even the great apes, who don't store fat as well as we do. You know?
See? And that
even though we share like 97, 98% of the same genes.
Isn't that weird?
It is.
Yeah. So this chapter does have a lot of some of the things that are good about fat too, that are important of why you need fat. And then one other quick story that I need to mention before we go into the comments and hear your takes on this chapter is how important it is that you do need electrolytes. And I've told this story before. I don't know if it was on a book club meeting story or if it was on one of my 98 Manjaro Monday lives. But years and years ago at the YMCA, there was a young athlete who was on the treadmill. And it was in the morning, and he was running as hard as he could, and he was sweating up a storm. And he did not have any breakfast or anything in him. I don't know what he ate the day before, if he didn't have enough, but he passed out on the treadmill. And where our YMCA is, it's right by the hospital is on one side, and on the other side, practically just a smidgen down the street, just a couple buildings over, is the fire department. And so someone right away called 911, and the paramedics came. And this was a young kid. I don't know if he was high school or college age, but that's it. You know, he was either in high school or college. And the paramedics, they even did the paddles on him, and they couldn't revive him because he was severely dehydrated and he had zero sodium in him. He had like no sodium and potassium, and he was hydrated. And even with the paddles, they couldn't bring him back.
He wasn't hydrated.
He wasn't hydrated. I'm sorry. He was severely dehydrated. He was so severely dehydrated with zero electrolytes in him, no potassium and sodium. They couldn't bring him back to life, and he died. And so I am never going to say, hey, just starve yourself and you'll lose a bunch of fat. No. That's not the point. That's not the point of this story.
And we are not doctors.
And we are not doctors.
And we're not prescribing anything.
No.
Or selling any supplements or anything like that.
No, none of that. None of that. But I just wanted to add that little piece, because that's important point too. And maybe a point to add for Kevin Hall and Julia, when you write your next one, because I'm hoping you guys write another book together, because you're outstanding. And I know you're going to learn even more, and I know you're going to do more experiments, and it'll be great to hear your next book that you guys do together. But you need to be sure that you put that on there. What the guy, you said, he was medically controlled, but he didn't eat anything. It's really important to find out about, did they take in electrolytes and that kind of thing too, because your body needs some of that. Those. And I don't know how people in the Holocaust lasted as long as they did. I don't know if they were licking the salt off their body to take it back in. I don't know. I don't know, because that's kind of a curiosity for me as well. But it was.
You know what I'm curious about?
What
the comments say.
Yeah. So I think that's all I got for you for this chapter. I want to see what your comments are, and if you've had any wins this week, please share those wins. My win is my mom. When she was moving houses, so she downgraded. She had a house in Illinois and a house in Florida, and now she just has the house in Florida. When she was getting ready to sell her Illinois house, she decided she had a lot of things that she just doesn't use very much anymore. And one of those is she has some nice jewelry. And she took her jewelry out and all of her nice pieces, and she let me and the granddaughters and her sister-in-law, or my sister-in-law, we each got to have something really nice of her nice jewelry. And I got this necklace, and look, it just barely fits on my neck, but it fits. And I have lost 50 pounds. And 50 pounds ago, there's no way I could have worn this pretty real gold necklace.
That's a win.
Yeah. And so that is a win. So that's one of my wins for this week. Let's hear some of your wins and any thoughts you have about this chapter. Let's see. Hey, we got Mayor Mindy in the house, and we got Barb, health at any cost. Hey, and we got Laura saying, hi, shipmates. And we got Denise here. And Laura says, my lymphedema is in my torso and both legs. Yeah. And that's hard. That is not fun.
Now I can't keep those straight. So
lymphedema is a type of fat where you get a lot of water, bloating kind of things, and it can swell. And sometimes one leg will be swollen and the other leg won't. Is lymphedema. And lipedema is, and some people have both lymphedema and lipedema. And lipedema is a fatty tissue disease that also has these little hard nodules in it that are very, very sore and sensitive to touch. Hey, we got GLP Journey and Review in the house. And Barb says, I have lymphedema in my lower right leg from 3 ankle surgeries and years of rehab. It never goes away either. It can get better with therapy, but is generally living there always. Yeah. Sorry about that, Barb. And Barb says, did you have lymph nodes removed, Laura Miller? Oh, did I miss something up above? That may be from a different week.
Myelymphedema. That's the one you just read.
Oh, right. It's in her torso and both legs.
Right.
So did you have lymph nodes removed, Laura? So let's see if Laura writes back. And Traveling T is in the house too. Hoo-hoo. Hi, Traveling T. And Barb says, as a midwife, we have to be able to determine white from brown fat on newborns. That pudgy back of the neck fat is brown fat. We watch to see how much they have. We watch how fast it goes away. Oh, interesting. I did not know that, Barb. And everyone's saying hi to each other, which is so nice. And Laura says, no, just doing wraps, massaging, and diet. Yeah, because you could do where you wrap your legs. And I don't have back issues. If you have back issues, Barb's let me know. If you have back issues, you might not be able to use a vibration plate. I don't, and I love my vibration plate. That's also helpful for both lipedema and lymphedema, but you always should ask your doctor just in case you have another medical condition that would make a vibration plate not be good for you. But I love my vibration plate. It's very helpful.
We got about 6 minutes, right?
Oh, yep. We can't go too late today because I'm doing a fundraiser for Sunshine Acres Children's Home, a charity event. We're not raising money. We're getting gifts, and that we let the foster kids there get to shop for free for their families. And the meeting's at my house shortly. Yeah. So we'll have to kind of go through here quickly here. And Barb says, I mean to get that much damage. Oh. Okay. And is that Grant? Wow, Grant made it. That's great. And Barb says, hey, Grant. And Barb says, wiring mouths shut was pretty common in the 1970s. They went many months with only liquids. Oh, I remember when that was a thing.
It's amazing what you can make into a milkshake.
Yeah.
Because it was a very successful, I think, for some people.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we have GLP-1s now. It's so much more helpful. And Grant says, got a new goal from the trainer this week. Pull-ups. Here we go. All right. Yeah, pull-ups are really good for you if you can do it. Yeehaw, Grant. And Laura says, health at any cost. I had a hysterectomy 15 years ago, and they thought I had cancer at the time, but I didn't. And they think that's how my lymphedema started. That is a possibility. I'm glad you didn't have cancer, though.
Me too.
And Barb says, yes, that could certainly do it. It must be so challenging. I do wonder if they might have taken some lymph nodes when searching for cancer. That's the most common way to get it. Oh, that's good to know. And Mindy says, David Blaine got water through a tube and urine was collected through a catheter. Yay. Thanks, Mindy. Because I was like, what the heck? And they didn't tell in the chapter, just that he was in this clear box, not eating for 40 some days, and people could watch him. And
inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah. Oh, I always love having Mindy. She always looks things up for us.
Mindy.
Thanks, Mindy. And we got Juanita Jones in the house. She says, hello from Kansas. I hope everyone is enjoying their Sunday. And Laura says, yes, you are right about those. Getting the lymph nodes out can cause issues. Hey, and we got Traces of Twan. We got Twan in the house. Woo woo. And she's been a guest on my show before, and she is amazing. And she's given the shipmates all a heart. Yay. And Mindy says, I'm once again concerned for Jeff's safety. They're always afraid I'm going to whack him by accident because I talk with my head.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Everyone's laughing with you. And Grant says, they told Christy to drink plenty of electrolytes before surgery. Yep, that's very helpful. Good. And Traces of Twan's Life saying hi to Grant and to everybody. And Barb says, I have severe back issues. No vibration plate for me. My spine is crushed from being so fat for so long. No pain because I've lost so much, but no vibration plate for me. Yeah, so that's why I do have to say, and I appreciate when Barb tells me stuff like that so that I'm always can be more careful and tell people, ask your doctor first. But if you get the okay, I love it.
You asked your doctor,
I
right?
asked my doctor. I had to ask my doctor because it was right after my hysterectomy, because I got it for Mother's Day. Because I wanted it
Your
for Mother's
hysterectomy?
Day. No, my vibration plate. I asked for it as a Mother's Day gift, and it was right when I was having my hysterectomy. So I had to ask. And right after I had my hysterectomy, I was allowed to sit in a chair and put my feet on it, but not stand on it until after a few weeks, and then I could stand on it. And Barb says, lymphedema is not fat. It's tissue swelling. Thank you, Barb. It's tissue swelling from the lymph glands being out of whack. Has nothing to do with being fat or growing fat. Oh, okay. And lipedema does, because lipedema is a fatty tissue disorder, and it has these weird nodules that are painful. And everyone's giving Barb some love. And I think that's it. We made it. Yay! And just in time for me to get ready for my company that's coming here in a few minutes. I want to thank everybody who's shown up this week. We're going to be here at the same, next week is Thanksgiving week. My mom's going to be in town, but I should still be able to do the show at 1:30. We usually just meet for dinner. I think we'll be okay. So we should be here next week at 1:30 Arizona time, 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern, and 8:30 for our friends in the UK that they can catch us. They can catch us live on Sundays. And tomorrow, you don't want to miss Maya. She has a fantastic story. She is an amazing registered dietitian. She's so helpful, and I think you guys are going to love her. And you can ask her. You can ask her some hard questions too. So. All right, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody. If anyone I don't see tomorrow when I give myself my 15 milligrams of Manjaro shot live, I'll be going live at 5:30 Arizona time, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. So anyway, I look forward to seeing you all. Hold on to your anchor moments and make it a great day. Bye-bye.